Welcome back to Horn and Fin Outdoors. While you're watching this video, remember, if you see anything that you like, check the comments and the description because there's going to be Amazon links there you can click on and go buy your own. Now, let's take an in-depth look at Tactacam's brand new Reveal Pro 3.0. Well, I'm pretty pumped, and I hope you are too, because the new Reveal Pro 3.0 has come out. So I could not wait to get my hands on this camera. I have a couple Reveal Pros already. If you want to see a review video of the older style ones, I'll post it up above in the upper right hand corner so you can click on it and check it out. But this is the new one, so I decided to do a new video on this one. Now, I have not opened this up yet, but I have seen all kinds of videos and other people talking about these cameras. There are a few new features in these cameras that I like. So what Tactacam started doing last year with some of their cameras was they set it up so you can automatically hit a button and the camera will take a picture and send it to you. So on-demand photos, which is a great feature. This camera has that again. Multi-shot burst. The other cameras have a 2 or 3 shot burst. The Pro can do a 5-shot burst. If you like using that feature, that adds 2 more pictures to your burst of pictures that you're going to be sent. This camera also has an optional SD card now because there is an internal memory inside the camera. Now, it's only 8 gigabytes, which I am not a huge fan of. I wish they would have did a higher memory capacity. However, you can set it on a loop where as you're getting pictures and the internal memory fills up, it will delete the oldest ones and just keep going. So you don't even need to use a memory card in this camera if you don't want to. If you choose to use a memory card, it uses the same memory card that the other Pros and the Reveal X's use, a 16 to 32 gigabyte card. We will talk about that along the way here. And this camera also is the same as the old version. It has the no glow technology in it, so when the camera triggers at night, you don't see any flash or anything go off. There's no red lights that come on. And they did some improvements now. The trigger speed, I believe, is about the same. They advertise it as sub half a second, and I read some other specs and they said it's like 0.3, 0.4 second trigger speed, which is pretty great. And they also made some improvements to the battery life. So somehow inside the camera, they made it operate more efficiently so it has a longer battery life. We will get into powering this camera along the way. So that is a lot of the features right now of, without opening up the box and holding it in our hand. That's the features of this camera that they made some changes to. There are a couple others which we're going to talk about. This video is going to be kind of long. So if you already have one of these cameras and you want to skip to the activation of it or the settings, I made chapters in this video so you can skip ahead and go see what you want to see. If you are just starting off or don't know anything about these cameras, then hey, start from right here and let's just keep going through this thing, and I'll give you as much information as I can, as quickly as I can without going too fast. And one thing to keep in mind, please, I am not sponsored by Tactacam. I didn't get these cameras for free. These are cameras that I use all the time, so I pay for them with my own money, and I do a review video. Now, the way you can help me with my content is that if you use the links that I provide for you in the comments and the description of this video, the Amazon links to buy anything you see in this video, I get a little bit of a commission off that. So it helps me out, helps me create new content, and I would really appreciate it that if you're thinking about buying one of these cameras or anything else you see, use those links because it does me a favor. It doesn't cost you any more, it doesn't cost you any less, it costs you the same. I just get a little bit of a commission off it. So without further stalling and talking, let's open this up and see what's in the box. Get this thing set up, registered, activated, and installed out in the woods and get it operating and running. So I will guide you through the whole entire process. So let's open this camera up, and I'm imagining it's just like the other Pros and the other Reveals. Sure enough, right when you open it up, there is a user's guide, a quick start guide. I recommend that if you've never used these cameras before, you definitely take a look at that because there's some good information in there. I'm gonna pull this camera out and right away I see kind of the same way they did it. They've got the camera and they also have this strap for you to mount it to the tree. Now, I don't use these straps. I have a mount that I will show you about when we get into putting in the tree. I save these because these make great lashing straps for backpacking or something to strap stuff to your bags, but I don't use them for my cameras. And here is the camera. Now, the very first thing you're going to notice is that they made some improvements to the antenna. If you remember on the Reveal X's and maybe the Pros when they first came out, but people were attaching the antenna and tightening it so much that it was snapping off the wire inside the antenna because the mount on the camera, they're snapping off the wire inside the camera because the mount on the camera was coming loose and just spinning, so the wires were breaking off. You get a brand new camera, you put the antenna on it, you turn it on and it gets no signal because it already broke while you put it together. This alleviates that problem. They have a nice little mount on the side that holds the antenna in place, so you can leave that on there or it pops off. So if you leave it on there, it's a great way to store it. And all you've got to do is just flip the antenna up and you're ready to go. So no more screwing the antenna on. Hopefully these antennas are a little bit more bear proof than the other ones are. If a bear whacks it, it might just fall over. But where I set some of my cameras up, I have bears messing with my cameras all the time. And sometimes they rip them off the trees, sometimes they break the antennas. Hopefully this will be a little bit more bear proof because you can just kind of knock it around. On the back of the camera, you see the same kind of stuff you saw on the other Pros. There are little ridges on here, so when it goes against the tree, it helps hold it tighter against the tree if you're using the straps. There are the mounting holes that go through here that the straps slide through. You are also going to see one of the things I like about Tactacam is there are 2 1/4x20 mounting slots in here for you to use the type of mount that I'm going to show you about when we hook this up to the tree. So you have multiple options as far as that goes. There is still the little hole here where you can put a cable lock through and lock it to your tree. We all know these cameras grow legs and they disappear. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Hopefully this can help prevent that a little bit. But you know as well as I do that someone that's determined to get it is going to get it, whether you want them to or not. Let's open this camera up and see what the inside looks like. It looks pretty much like the other one. There's a little 2-inch LED screen in there. There is the power button, and there are your 4-way up, down, left, and right buttons for scrolling through your menus. Truth be told, I don't use those buttons too often for the settings in the camera. Occasionally I will, but usually I just go through the app on my phone. It is so easy to set your settings on the app on your phone or on your computer that I don't even mess around with that. And as far as reading or seeing the pictures, same thing. I don't use the screen to watch the pictures. The main thing I use the screen for is when I'm setting the camera in the woods to make sure I've got it set up the way I want it set up. There is the slot on the side where the SD card goes. There is another little connector there that says service. That's not anything you need to worry about. The other thing I forgot to mention in the beginning that you will notice about these cameras, no longer do you need to pick a SIM card and insert the SIM card. They have a SIM card pre-installed in the camera, so when you turn it on, it automatically connects to the best service that it has, whether it's Verizon or AT&T. Now, I just activated a Reveal X3, and I was surprised that it picked up a Verizon signal at my house because usually I get a better signal with AT&T. But it got a Verizon signal, everything was working fine. I'm imagining it's going to be the same thing with this Pro. And you look at the bottom, we have the button here for the battery tray. You pop the battery tray out, and we have the same thing as we had before, same battery tray. It holds 12 AA batteries. We will talk in depth about ways to power this camera in a little while when we get into setting this camera up. But I think that is pretty much it. It's You know, it's about the same size and shape as the other Pros. The most outwardly thing that you see on it when you check this camera out is definitely that antenna, which is something I like, and I can't wait to see how it works out in the woods for me. But this is the new Tactacam Reveal Pro 3.0. We're going to get this thing ready. We're going to put in a SIM card, or I'm sorry, we're going to put in an SD card. We're going to hook it up to some sort of power source. We're going to activate it, go through the settings, get this thing in the woods, and I will guide you through the whole process. So let's move on to the next step of getting an SD card and inserting into this camera. Well, my little table now has transformed into what looks like a flea market table, but we're going to talk about all this stuff in a minute. The very first thing I want to talk to you in this little segment here is your SD card. Now, it is very important to use an SD card that Tactacam recommends, and what they recommend is a full-size Class 10 U3 16 to 32 gigabyte SD card, okay? This is a manufacturer called SanDisk. This is their Extreme Pro. It says it right on the card, Class 10, or like a little C with a 10 in there, and a U and a 3, that's Class 10, U3. It's a full-size SD card. Do not use a micro SD card with an adapter. And it is 32 gigabytes. This is the memory card that I use in all my Tactacam cameras, and it works just fine. You will hear people in Facebook groups say that they use different memory cards, different sizes, different capacities, things that Tactacam does not recommend, and they say it works fine for them. And it does, until it doesn't. The way these cards are set up is they're made to match up with these cameras. And now it has something to do with the way the data is written and read off this card. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's the camera is going to read and write the data in a certain way on these cards only. The other cards, it can jam up the camera and it'll stop transmitting pictures. I see it all the time where people will say, oh, I've got a 128 gigabyte card and it was working fine and now it's not. Well, it's the card. That's the problem. So you want to get a Class 10 U3 full-size memory card that is between 16 and 32 gigabytes in size. Once you get that card, the next thing you're going to do is you are going to stick that card in your computer and format the card on your computer. It's very easy to do, and actually now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure you can do it in these cameras once you turn the camera on. But me personally, I don't like turning the camera on without a formatted card already in it. So put this card in your computer or your laptop, whatever you have, format the card, it only takes a second, and now you're ready to go. This card easily slides in here. You access the side of your camera, you put the card in the little slot, and you push it in until it clicks. The card's in there, and now you are ready to go. The only thing we need to do now is to put a battery in this thing. So let's talk about powering your camera. You have many different options, as you can see here. I will explain to you some of the pros and cons of each option, and I will start with the option that I consider the least cost-effective and also lowest battery time and the biggest hassle, and that is using AA batteries and putting them in their battery tray. This camera will hold 12 AA batteries, and if you live in a cold weather environment, you're going to want to use lithium batteries. Like Energizer Ultimate Lithiums is what I was using when I was using AA's. And I believe the batteries are going to be about $20 to $25 for 12 batteries. And those batteries, depending upon your settings, when I was using batteries, were only lasting me about a month and a half because I was changing them out when I had 30, 40, 20% left in the battery life because I didn't want the camera to go dead. So to me, it just got really expensive. And with running a bunch of cameras, all the batteries die at different times. So you're constantly trying to change batteries in one, and you're making a lot of visits to the property, and you're ultimately defeating the purpose of using a cell cam so you don't have to go to the property and put your scent all around and disturb the wildlife. So I'm not a fan of it, but if it's right for you, it's right for you, and I would recommend you using lithium batteries in your battery tray. The next option, which is A step up from the AA's is the Tactacam battery pack. Now, if you want to see a review I did on this battery pack, I'll post a link up in the upper right hand side. You can check it out. These battery packs are excellent because they're rechargeable. They cost about $50 and you get about the same amount of battery life as you do with AA's, which is a drawback. However, once it's dead, you pull it out, you put another one in, and you take it home and charge it and use it to swap out with a different camera. So if you do that twice, you're gonna break even with what it costs to put AA cameras or AA batteries in your camera. So this is a great option if you want to keep the footprint of your camera small, but you don't want to keep buying batteries over and over and over again. One little tip that I do with my batteries, I don't know if you can see on here, I wrote July 2023, that's when I bought this battery. Anytime I buy battery packs or any of the solar panels, I write the date that I bought it so I can see how long it lasts. I haven't had to replace one of these packs yet for it being bad, so I think the oldest one I have is maybe 2022. So this is probably my second or third season with them. The next option that I have, and I'm not a huge fan of this particular solar panel, is an external solar panel by Tactacam. If you want to see a review of this, I will post it in the upper right hand corner because I did a review video on this as well. But this solar panel, and one thing to keep in mind with these solar panels and these external boxes is that the solar panel does not power your camera. The solar panel charges the battery that's internal to the solar panel, and then that powers your camera. So depending upon your settings, the solar panel may not be able to keep the battery charged long enough, especially with a small capacity battery, which this Tactacam has compared to some other options. And in order for these panels to get the absolute best efficiency, they've got to be pointed south at a 45-degree angle and get sunlight for a full 8 hours a day. Most of my cameras are in the woods. They're not getting sunlight for that long. So for that reason, I don't use the Tactacam panel. I use something a little bit different. This external battery box from HME is what I use. Now this has a solar panel on the top, and I do a lot of videos, you may be able to figure that out, but I did a review video of this as well, so I'll link that in the upper right hand corner if you want to check it out. And I will also have a link to all this stuff in the comments and descriptions if you want to buy any of this for yourself and check it out on Amazon. But this battery box has a solar panel on it which helps keep the battery charged, but the battery capacity inside is a 9 amp hour battery. I don't know exactly what the Tactacam solar panel is or the amp hour capacity of the lithium, but I know that when I put these batteries on my cameras, they last for 3 or 4 months. They last a long time. In fact, the current camera that I have running is in my driveway of my camp, and it only takes about 2 pictures a day, but for my check-in pictures, this battery has been powering that thing since I think November or December. So it's on 7 months worth of battery life, which is fantastic. Also inside this battery box is the battery, which is easily, there's 2 little leads, you can pop it off, pull the battery out, replace the battery if it goes bad. The batteries cost about $20. This unit costs $50, the battery to replace it is $20. I don't know exactly when I bought this one, it may be marked on the inside, but I've been using these for about 6 years now, and I have had to change 2 batteries so far in 6 years on these, so they work great. Another thing to note on them is that the wiring harness that it comes with, the connector does not fit in the Tactacams. There is an adapter you need to buy, which I will also post the link to the adapter. This cable I changed out. I bought it from Herd 360. They make a cable that fits the Tactacam, so I changed it out, but it takes a little bit of soldering and some know-how to do that. Otherwise, you just buy it the way it comes, stick the little adapter on there, plug it in your camera, and you're good to go. This is a great option, and I've got, I think, 8 or 9 of them at least. I don't even know how many I have. They're an awesome little battery box. And now the last and probably best so far that I have found is from also Herd 360. This solar panel. Now you can see the panel itself is quite a bit larger than the solar panel on the other box I showed you, but it is still very thin and it's not that heavy. But this has an internal battery that is 52 amp hours, 25 amp hours compared to the 8 in this box. So it has 3 times the capacity. It also has a larger solar panel, which hopefully will gather more sunlight and help keep the battery inside this charged a little bit longer. Now this panel, you can see the lights on because it's collecting sunlight and charging already. This panel comes with multiple cables that plug in the bottom here, and you can use them on Tactacam, SpyPoint, Moultrie, whichever cameras you have. It has different cables that will match up with the camera you're using. Another feature that I like about this is there is a USB out port on the bottom of this panel. So if you want to charge your cell phone or take it on a camping trip to use it to run a fan in your tent or some little lights in your tent, this battery pack will power that stuff with the USB out. Anything you plug into a USB, you can plug in here and it will power it. And as far as camping goes, it's not that heavy. You can take this thing, set it on a rock out in the sun all day long, let it keep charging, and then plug in whatever you need to at night, and you're good to go. So there's great options with this one. The only drawback I see to this panel is that it's quite large, and if you're setting your cameras in an area that you're worried about somebody taking them, you may not want to increase the camera's footprint this much and make something this noticeable. But it is a great option for powering your camera. For this video, for setting everything up and for just ease and not having to mess with cables, I am going to be powering this camera with one of these lithium battery packs. So I'm going to take the lithium battery pack and I'm going to stick it inside the camera, and it is ready to go. Now, one little tip about this battery box is that anything that I plug into my camera, whether it be a battery or if I use the empty battery tray or a battery and plug the external into the bottom, I will use dielectric grease on the contacts. I have never had a problem with cameras rusting or corroding, but that's just a little bit extra level of protection. I also will spread some on the seal that's right here to help that seal stay fresh, and it keeps the moisture out of the camera and helps things from getting rusty or corroded and keeps your camera operating longer. So a little bit of dielectric grease is a great preventative measure for your cameras. I have the SD card in this camera. I have the battery in this camera. We have it all ready to go. The next step is going to be activating this camera, adjusting the settings, and then deploying this camera in the woods and get it taking pictures. So let's get to it. Let's get this thing activated and go have some fun with it. We are almost ready for the fun part of this, getting this camera up and running and activated and sending us pictures. First though, what you need to do is, if you are not a current Tactacam user, you need to go to their website and set up your account. When you do that, you're going to enter your payment information in on their website. That way you can activate a camera and set up a new plan. Once you go to their website and you set up your account, then you can take your cell phone, and I'll try and show you as much as I can on my phone here, but you're going to download the Tactacam app and you can open up the app and log in. Now you see mine automatically logs in, and I've got all kinds of pictures in here already because I have a bunch of cameras and I just did a review video of the X 3.0. So I opened up my app and it goes right into your home screen here, which is all your pictures. Now, if you notice in the upper left-hand corner, there's that little hamburger menu up there. You click on that and the very top thing says add a camera. That's what we're going to click first. We're going to start there. So you click on that add a camera, and now Tactacam's plans, all of your cameras have to be on the same plan. Now, that is something that I don't like about Tactacam. However, what they do is each of your cameras shares all the pictures. So if you have the starter plan, which is what I have my current 2 cameras activated to, you get 250 pictures a month. If one camera takes 400, another one takes 100, you're good because you've got 2 cameras, that's 500 pictures. So they all share them together in a pool, which makes it nice if you have one camera that doesn't take a lot of pictures and one camera that does. You can sometimes go with a little bit lower cost every month. I change my plans during the seasons because depending upon how I have my camera set up, I may or may not need more pictures. But right now I'm starting with the starter monthly. So I'm going to click continue on there. And now it's going to tell me to select a camera. This is the Reveal, it's a Reveal 3.0. So I'm going to click the top picture and it asks you to scan your QR code. Now I'm going to show you that you open it up and you scan the QR code inside there. Unfortunately, because I am recording my screen on my phone, it's not going to let me do that. So I have to stop recording, do the scan, and once it accepts the scan, which it will in a second here. Okay, come on now. There we go. It's accepted the scan. So let me start my screen up again. Okay, so started the screen record back up again. Now it's telling me install the batteries, which we already have. We've got a battery pack installed in the bottom of the camera. Insert the SD card, which is optional, but we do have an SD card inserted in this camera. I click continue again, and it tells me to turn my camera on. Now these cameras, the power button is down here. I'm going to hit that power button. I hold it down for a second and turn it on. The green light comes on, and the camera is coming to life. So I turned it on, and I'm going to click continue. And now while this is all booting up and connecting to the cell phone service, I'm going to go through this little section here where I'm going to add the name of the camera. Now what I like to do is the first thing I do is number my cameras. You can see on the top I wrote 02 and inside 02. So I number my cameras and then I'll change the name as I move them around in the woods. What numbering does and writing the number on here, it makes it really easy when you go to reactivate your cameras to select the proper camera. My location is going to be under Grundle Cams. You can set up different locations for your cameras if they're in different places. I just put them all under one thing. And for a zip code, I'm going to enter my current zip code. However, if I am going to move this camera to another state, I will change the zip code. That zip code is where you get your weather information from on the camera. So I'm going to click continue and see what happens here. Now, it says, please wait while we activate your camera. This may take up to a minute. Sometimes it takes about a minute. So we're just gonna pause here and let this do its thing. There we go, it connected. So the camera is connected to the service. It is on, it is probably taking pictures of me right now while I'm talking to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna click see my cameras. And that pulls up all of your cameras. Now if you swipe down on your screen, it will refresh everything. And now that camera is pending check-in. It's going to take a couple minutes before it checks in and registers here. So we are going to explore a little bit more of all these settings in here. So let's start at the bottom of the screen in this app and we'll go to home. Now, when you click home, that brings you to your feed of all your pictures. So all of your pictures that are taken on all of your cameras will show up in here and they will be, in chronological order. So you can just scroll through all your pictures and see what you've got going on. Now you can see all the pictures I took when I was shooting the other video, but if I keep scrolling a little bit farther down, it took a lot of pictures because I did not have the delay on. Now I get into camera I've got out in the woods and some deer running up and down the driveway of our cabin. So once you go there, you can find all your pictures. If you click to the right on cameras, again that pulls up all of your cameras. I'm gonna, still hasn't checked in yet, but you can see here all of your cameras that you have. Now if you notice all the way to the right, there's battery percentages, a signal, and also a clock. That battery percentage is going to be your percentage of your battery that you have left. However, if you're connected to a solar panel or an external box, it's always going to say 100%. If that battery ends up going dead, the camera just stops working, but it says 100%. Unless you have AA's or lithium pack installed in the camera, then it will switch over to there and you will see that percentage start going down. The signal, it says strong on all of mine, and you will notice if you look to the right, that little clock. Now, that clock is the last time that camera has checked in. So this camera 01, checked in 3 hours ago. This camera has not checked in yet. Camera number 3 has checked in 6 months ago. That is because that camera is not activated and it's not working. That's another way to tell if your camera is not functioning, because that number will be farther than however often you have it set to check in. I have my camera set to check in twice a day. So I know if that clock is higher than 12 hours, that means a camera's not working. That's just a quick little way to be able to scroll through here and make sure all of your cameras are still functioning. I'm going to turn this camera off while we're talking, and I'm going to turn it back on again and see if maybe it will check back in faster when I turn it back on. But we're going to see what happens there. And now if you look under your section here where it says galleries, so galleries, if we click on that, that's going to show your HD photos and any videos that you download. What is important to remember is that when your camera is taking pictures, in your home screen, it's just showing you the pictures that come through, okay? And then you have to request either an HD picture or a video if you want the video, and the next time your camera checks in, it will be over here in the galleries under HD photos or videos. As you can see in my videos here, I have a couple videos that I requested because I wanted to see what the deer were doing in our driveway, so you can get your videos there. From there, you can download them to your phone or computer or whatever else you want to do. If you go to further to the right down at the bottom, maps, you click on that. That shows me where I am, and it also, if I scroll out, it'll show me my other camera that I have out in Pennsylvania. This will take sometimes about 24 hours to update, so don't be surprised if you turn your camera on right away, and then when you turn it back, you turn your camera on to set it up and you look in here and it doesn't show it, give it some time. It's going to take about a day for all your settings to get set up right and everything to be running fine. So just be a little patient with it. And then your account is over on the right. You can click on some stuff over there and change some things and buy some things, whatever you're going to do. But that is the gist of what you see on the menu on the bottom. Let's go back up to the upper left, that little hamburger menu, and let's click on that. And you have pretty much all the same stuff. There is another section here that I want to talk about called sharing. If you look halfway or 3/4 of the way down, sharing is great because you can now take your cameras and share them with somebody else who has a SpyPoint account. You don't need to have any cameras, you just need to download the app and set up your SpyPoint account. So my friend, I'll click on the one on the top, I'm showing him what cameras I'm sharing with him, but if I go over on the top at shared with me, I'll click on that, and I look at his feed, and I can see Joe's stand, and now I can see anything he's got going on at his stand. I can scroll through all his camera's pictures. What he cannot do, or I cannot do, I can't change his settings on his camera. I can only view his pictures. This is a great thing to have because any friends that you have that have Tactacam cameras, you can check out their cameras and you can share them and you guys can see what's going on in each other's cameras. We all know that looking at trail camera pictures is like Christmas. And if nothing's going on your cameras, maybe something's going on one of your friends. So it's a fun thing to do. It doesn't cost any money. I actually have shared my cameras with a friend of mine's kids so they can look at them. All they had to do was download the app, set up an account, and then they can have cameras shared with them. So it's a fun little thing to do, something else to look at. Now, shoot or pass, I didn't mess around with that. Statistics, I've looked into that a little bit. If you look into statistics, it'll give you a lot of information about your cameras and the pictures. It gives you some good information about when you're getting pictures. And if you choose to tag your pictures, it'll show you when you're getting deer movement, bucks or does, or just deer in general, or bears. You can select that, and what those statistics will show you is when you're getting the most pictures. So it's some interesting information to play around with, which I have explored a little, but not all that much. We are going to go back here, and I'm going to check on that camera and see if it has checked in yet. Okay, well, it took a little longer than expected, and I had to turn my camera back off and on again, but it did finally connect. You can see it's connected there. It says 95% battery, strong signal, and it just checked in 1 second ago. Now, if I click on that camera, I can see where all the settings are going to be, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about right now. So if you see up there, at the top, you have your battery, and it's the same status bar that you see from the other screen. So you have your battery, your signal, your SD card is 0% full, and it checked in 1 second ago. If you look down a little bit, you can see where you can request an on-demand photo or on-demand video. That's one of the benefits of this camera over the Reveal X. You can request an on-demand video as well as a photo. So what I use that is, if I have a delay on my camera set to 3-4 minutes and I get a picture of a deer, I can then request that on-demand picture and it will take that picture right then. It's also a good way to check and see if your camera is working. So it's going to take that picture and send it to you, and you should be good. Now, it's probably taking pictures of me right now. I just don't know yet. We're going to look at that in a couple minutes. But we're going to go down here a little bit farther. You're going to go to motion detection. It comes at sensitivity level 7. I leave my cameras there. Unless you're having problems with it, you can adjust it. But I find that that level of 7 is pretty good. Camera actions, let's click on that. This is where you're going to either cancel or suspend your service or delete your camera if you're going to sell it or give it to somebody. We're not going to need to do anything there, so we're going to go back. Down a little bit further, camera details. This is where you come to adjust and change the name or change your location or your zip code for your weather on your pictures. We're going to go back again. Camera gallery, let's see if I got any pictures yet. There we go, there's all the pictures coming in. I'm sitting here talking to you guys and I'm getting pictures of myself while I'm talking. So it is up and transmitting pictures. Now, right now there's no delay set, so it's just taking picture after picture and sending them. That's okay. Camera settings, we're gonna skip over for the time being because we're gonna hit that last. Let's look at device info. That shows your camera model so you know what camera you're using. The last check-in was at July 6th at 4:05. It shows you my hardware version, the app version I'm using. I don't know what MCU version is, whatever. Firmware version, that's something you want to check into because occasionally Tactacam will release new firmware versions that you download into your cameras. What I do is every year before I put my cameras out in the woods, I go on their website, I double check what the most current firmware version is, and I download them to my cameras if I need to. That way you know your camera is running on the latest and greatest firmware, and hopefully they're making improvements to that firmware so your camera runs better. Let's go back a little bit, and then we're going to go to carrier info. This tells you that your registration status is active. I am on a Verizon network, and there's a whole bunch of numbers there that somebody may ask for if you have a problem with your camera. And we'll go back again, and now we're going to go into the settings, and let's discuss the settings a little bit. So, camera mode. It comes default on photo, but I like having videos too, so I'm going to select pic and video. Then I'm going to go to image size. Image size, I have it set to 4K. I'm going to leave it at 4K because I want to have the best resolution picture I can. Now, the good thing about this new version of this app is they explain a little bit in the app what the setting does and how it affects your camera and the way it runs. So that is nice to have. It gives you a little bit of good information in there. Video size, again, I'm going to select Full HD 1080p because I want to have the best quality video I can shoot. Video length, gives you 10, 15, or 30-second clips. I like to keep it at 15 seconds. You definitely, if you're shooting pics or video and you're using long videos, definitely want to use an external power source rather than the batteries or the rechargeable pack, because it will burn those batteries up fast. I'm going to go back. Multi-shot, we're going to turn that off, but here's one of the new settings in this. I don't use multi-shot, but some people do. The other cameras have 2 or 3 pictures. Now you can select 4 or 5 pictures. So when something triggers that camera, it's going to give you 5 rapid succession pictures. And you can choose whether you want all them to be transmitted to you or not later. But I don't use that feature too often, so I leave it off. Let's go back. Multi-shot interval, that's where you choose a delay between the shots. Multi-shot send, that's where you're going to decide how many pictures you want to send to you, so because it goes against your picture count. Night mode, I am going to pick minimum blur. So there's a balance in here of maximum range, balance, and minimum blur. I like to keep it start off at minimum blur. If I find that the camera is triggering and I'm not getting good pictures, then I'll adjust that setting. And we go below that is battery type. That is automatically determined, but you can also change it if you want to. So it says I've got a lithium cartridge in there. Flash power, I leave that set on high. And one thing, I can't remember if I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about this camera, but this is a no glow camera. So when this camera triggers at night, these LEDs don't put off any visible light at all. So that's one of the good features about this camera that people seem to like. Delay, I'm going to leave the delay off right now because when I set up my cameras, I leave the delay off. So that way I can make sure the camera's working while I'm in the woods, besides using the button to send me a test picture. Afterwards, I will adjust that delay. Work timer. That is where you tell the camera what hours you want it to be working. I leave that camera that setting off because I usually will keep my cameras running 24/7, but some people may not want to get nighttime pictures, some people may not want to get daytime, so you can use that to decide when the camera is going to take pictures. SD loop, I'm going to turn that off because what that setting does is that will, as your SD card gets full, which is a lot of pictures and videos, it will delete the oldest stuff and start adding the new stuff on it, and it will keep a continuous loop so your card never gets full. I'm going to leave that off because I like it to, I change my cards out occasionally, so I don't really have to worry about the card getting full. I don't see them get full too often. Settings check. I like to set this on daily normally, but when I'm first activating a camera and putting it in the woods, I'm going to put it on instant. Instant will use up a lot of your battery power. However, it's good because if I'm in the woods and I'm setting up my camera and I want to change some of the settings, as soon as I hit apply all settings, it's going to go to the camera, which is what I like. Later on, I change that to daily, so I help conserve the battery. But when I'm first setting it up, that's what you do. Motion sensitivity, that's where you adjust it. I said I leave it at 7. Send type, timely. I can't change that right now because I have the, because I have the settings checked to instant. I can't change this. However, you can adjust how often you want your pictures sent to you. The less often you have your pictures sent, the more you conserve your battery. If every time you take a picture it transmits it, you are going to use up a little bit more of your battery power. And I recommend using an external box if you're going to have that set on timely. Now, different times of the year, I may change that. If it's not hunting season, I may set it to daily. During hunting season, I may set it to timely. I may want to know if I'm hunting a stand that 300 yards away, a deer is walking towards me, and I can kind of get ready and see if he's coming my way. So there's different reasons for changing those settings, and it's just going to be depending upon your application for your camera. check-in picture. I turned that one on. And this is another way to monitor your camera. With that check-in picture on, every time your camera checks in, which I like to set mine for twice a day, it's going to take a picture and it's going to send it to you. Then you will know that that camera is working. Now, all the cameras check-in times are different. So you just kind of have to know that your camera, I know the camera I have in the woods now checks in at 11:55 a.m. and 11:55 p.m. If I don't get a picture at 11:55, something's wrong. And then you can go and you can request a picture and see if it comes through and try and figure out what's going on hopefully without driving to the camera. So now that we've gone through all those settings, we're going to click Apply All Settings, and it's going to tell you that the settings may take up to 24 hours. So if you have your settings set to instant, they'll go automatically. But if you have it set to like daily, it may take 24 hours. So we're going to click yes there. And that's going to bring us back to the screen. We're going to hit back. And we're going to go back now to the gallery, camera gallery, and we're going to see all the other pictures it's been sending me while I've been talking with you. So as you can see, the thing has been taking pictures and it works. And I'm going to shut it off because I want it to stop taking pictures of me and sending them here while I'm doing nothing. But we have this camera now set up. We have it sending pictures. And we have everything good to go. All we need to do now is put it outside and get the thing working. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to gather a few things up. We're going to go deploy this camera. I'm going to show you how I aim it properly, get it working in the field, and you'll be ready to take some pictures. Hang in there. We're almost done with this video. We have the camera set up. We've got a battery installed in it. We've got the SD card installed in it. We've already turned it on, taken test pictures with it, and made sure that it works. So now we are out in the woods, and we're gonna set this camera up. And I'm gonna show you how I deploy my camera and set it up and test it before I leave the woods and make sure the thing's working. So first of all, as I explained earlier, I don't like to use the straps that the trail camera comes with. I like to use these HME trail camera mounts. Now these things, they're like $10. I'll put a link to them in the comments and description, but you can see I've got 4 of them here on the tree if you can see them, because I'm doing a comparison video of all these cameras. So I like to use them. They offer a lot more different options as far as the mounting goes. So you have 2 1/4x20 holes in the back of this camera, and I'm going to use the one that's straight on the back, and all you do is just thread it onto the screw that's on here. Okay, it just threads on, and then once it is about where you want it, there's a thumb screw in the back to tighten up so it doesn't move. Now you can adjust this up and down, left and right. I'm going to pretty much keep it just right there, just for what we're doing. And I'm going to hit the on button and turn the power on. Now, the reason why I turned it on now is because these cameras take a minute or two to get going, and I'm going to use that time to talk with you a little bit about the settings and set up my app. So I am going to go into my app, and I went in the camera section, and we're setting up camera number 2. So I'm going to click on the settings and scroll down and just make sure my settings are the way I want them. And I have the delay turned off. I have actually it's a 5-second delay is what I have. I have my settings checked to instant, and I have my send type to timely. And those are the 3 things I do when I'm first setting up my camera, so that way I can make sure this thing is taking pictures before I head out of wherever I'm setting it up, because you know as well as I do, we don't always set them up close to home. So looking at this, it says it's searching for network. It just found it. It's connecting to the GPS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this enter button, and that should send me a test picture. It's recording a video right now. You can see the video that it's recording, and it will record that video, and then it's going to send me a picture, hopefully a test picture. It may take a few seconds there. The video just stopped recording. But what I'm also going to do, oh, the picture came through already. Look at that, came through pretty fast. If you look in the bottom right here, you connect to account or click on account. We're going to go towards the bottom, it says connect to reveal, and we're going to hit continue. We're going to hit continue, and we're going to hit continue. And now what I'm doing is I'm connecting my cell phone to this camera. I'm going to hit join. And now I can use the screen on here to aim the camera. However, this is a different way to do it. And this also works with the Reveal X 3.0s, not just the Pro. But it helps you where you can look at your screen and see how everything's aimed. That way I can walk away from my camera, see where the trigger area is, and then adjust as necessary. You see that red line going through the middle of the screen there. That red line is the optimal trigger area for this camera. So what you want is you want that red line horizontal with about the middle of the deer's body or a bear or whatever you're trying to capture. That is going to be the best area for triggering. Now the camera will trigger above and below that line, but that's the optimal place for it. Also keep in mind, the best way to set these cameras up is about 2 to 3 feet off the ground, shooting perfectly horizontal. If you're aiming the camera up in the air, you lose some of your trigger distance. If you aim it down at the ground, you'll also lose trigger distance. So horizontal on that red line right there is the best way to do what we're trying to do. So I am almost set up where I want it. You can see if I adjust this, you can watch it rotate on the phone and figure out where you want to set this up. So I have this set up where I want it. I'm going to click the X and get out of there. I'm back in the gallery. I'm going to swipe down just to see if any more pictures came in. And I'm going to hit the button here and hopefully we'll send another test picture. Nope, it didn't. It actually went into work mode before I got done talking there. But we're going to let it set up again. And now that it is set up again, I can again hit this test button to make sure it's working. It's going to take a 15-second video and then it will transmit to the phone. So I just want to double check that this is working correctly. And then I'm going to show you how to put it into the work mode. You can just let it go and it goes into work mode on its own. I prefer to set it there myself before I leave the woods. And there we go, the picture came through already. So on the screen here, or on the buttons here, I'm going to hit the left button. It's going to say enter work mode. I'm going to hit the left button again. It highlights yes in yellow. Then I hit enter and it says right there on the screen entering work mode. And all I've got to do is close the camera, latch it, and we're done. And that's all there is to it. We're ready to start taking pictures. Thank you for hanging in with this video. I know it was long, but hopefully I answered any questions you have about this camera. If there's anything you can think of, just drop me a comment and hopefully I can answer questions for you, or if you have anything to add, please let me know. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for sticking with it with this video. Until the next one, I wish you nothing but tight lines and short blood trails. Good luck with your cameras. And that should send me a test picture. It's recording a video right now. You can see the video that it's recording. And it will record that video and then it's going to send me a picture, hopefully a test picture.